Hey yo, what's good, birdos? It's like today we're reacting to a Jubilee video. Um, if you didn't know, my name is Kev. So stupid. I'm so stupid. Um, we're reacting to a trans versus conservative men. Is masculinity disappearing in America? We need to find the middle ground.
Middle Ground is a social experiment that brings humans with opposing beliefs together. These discussions may contain viewpoints that are the result of misinformation. Remember to seek out experts and to be critical of your own biases while forming an opinion. Please see the humanity in each participant, and as always, we encourage empathy.
Yeah, that counts for me too, by the way.
Step forward if you agree with the prompt. Masculinity is disappearing in America.
I had a feeling he was going up there.
I think that masculinity is disappearing. I think that it's a concerted effort to emasculate men. I think that some people feel threatened by masculinity and the typical way that men carry themselves, leading families and different things like that. So I think that there's an effort to mitigate strong men in America.
There's a few different ways to think about masculinity, but just looking at kind of the definition of the term 50 years ago, you had people like John Wayne, you had Martin Luther King, you had Sean Connery. You think of like masculine features as in the beards,
I just know he better put Martin Luther King in there. Let's go.
muscles, things stoic, being brave, being rugged, being a provider. Today you have people like Harry Styles and Timothy Chalamet. You have people that are completely contrary to what we were looking at back then.
I do believe that masculinity is going downhill, especially if you look at like the testosterone levels. Now the testosterone levels for guys is going down compared to generations before us. So yeah, I agree.
I agree. I think society pushes men to show their feminine traits, such as like being vulnerable. A lot of men don't like that. Women don't care.
I'm Gilbert, I'm 24 years old, and I'm a conservative man. With my beliefs and having a trans man as my friend, we don't really talk about politics. Someone being trans doesn't make me like them any less of a person.
That's tough.
As far as pronouns, when referring to my friend, I don't really use the pronouns that my friend would want. I just say my friend or I say their name, just because I feel like I'm giving into the narrative that men can be women and women can be men if I use the pronouns that they want.
That's tough.
I do see that masculinity is under attack completely, but my definition of masculinity, like you said, has a lot to do with the traits that are associated with it. As a gay man, I mean, of all of us, I'm not the
Now that's interesting. It's gonna be interesting to hear his point of view.
masculine man, but I do think that the good aspects of masculinity are definitely under attack, but I don't think that it's disappearing, it's just being channeled in different ways.
It depends on how you look at it, because a lot of the traits can also be embodied in women and in femininity. So when we look at masculinity, I think that we have to also look at what is the actual definition of femininity and masculinity, and if
I'm kind of lost. Like, are these dudes men? Like, I thought we was talking about trans. Wait.
by being stoic or muscles or body parts, then is it really masculinity?
A lot of times when you guys spoke about masculinity, you associate it
Yo.
with men being manly, but I think
You look dead up like a man. You look dead ass like a man.
more women are embracing their masculinity. Masculinity is still there. I mean, just other genders are using it. Being courageous, being powerful, more
What?
women are standing in their power, which is again associated with masculine, but it's not specific to just men. Women are no longer submissive, they're dominant. Women don't need men, and I think
that statement is kind of contradicting. Just because this motherfucker is trying to be a man. I don't know how I feel about that statement. But I do think women need men, and men need women just as much.
I believe that the masculine traits are inherently in men, and men have to take a
Word.
position. You made a really good point by saying women are now becoming more masculine. They feel as if they don't need men, which I think is
Word.
the problem here. I think
Me
that the
too.
way we've been designed by God, in my opinion, men have to take their rightful position. The way our country has been structured to this point have been because of strong men who have taken a stand, who have fought wars. Now I feel like it's getting so lopsided that our families are degrading. People don't know where they're at in this country.
Now in 2022, masculinity is being redefined. And I think what happens is people get upset when things start to change. No, I think that nobody ever wants to take that away from men. I think that what we want to do in the world now is start to understand what is masculinity. And it's always been really associated with this very machismo space. And now there's different kinds of men in the world. There's not just biological men. There's also trans men or people who want to be masculine. So I think what's happening now is people are pushing against change because change is scary and people don't understand. And so I think men, biological men, feel under attack when I think that's not what's happening here.
The point that you made is 100%
he
correct.
does
There
got a
are
great
different
point.
phases and people are experiencing it in
Facts.
different ways. The feminist movement is, I think they are attacking masculinity within men.
Facts.
I don't want a man to open the door for me. I don't need a man in my life. I can do all of these different things. What they're doing is attacking men, and that's what's causing the problem.
What part of the feminist group feels like it's attacking? Because I know that most feminism is like wanting equal pay or...
Well, you just said that women not needing men is somehow empowering. You know, having a man is somehow
answered it.
less.
Biology determines gender.
Like what? Duh.
So, sex and gender, people try to argue that they're different, but sex and gender actually go hand to hand. And our biology, being a man, comes down to every fiber within our body. So whether that be DNA, chromosomes, testosterone levels, bone density, there's a whole bunch of different factors that go into it, and it all has to do with biology.
So biology, I 100% believe in biology. Today we talk about biology being a social construct. I disagree with that as a transgender person. I was born biologically female. I always acknowledge that.
This
And
nigga looks
today
straight
I
up like a
live
nigga.
as a male. Now that
That's
being said,
crazy.
sex and gender, they are trying to separate those things. Gender can be, I've chosen my gender. As you see, nobody would, I think, probably understand that I used to be a female.
No.
Now, many people do, like you just said, believe that sex and gender are one thing and you can never change those. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm trying to show the world that this is how I feel by presenting the outside. But I think denying biology is where we get into a lot of problems.
If you want to be, you know, seen as a man, then like,
Right on.
who are you to? I don't care. I mean,
Word.
you do you, and whatever makes you happy. But I think
Word.
like it becomes a slippery slope. It's like, how are we going to deny basic human facts? Like, there's two
I
genders.
think that causes problems.
Thank you, White
And it
House.
causes problems for me. Does that make sense? You don't have to agree with my choice of how I live my life, but all I ask for is respect.
What do you have on your driver license and your birth certificate?
Right,
Do you
great,
change it to
great.
male or do you change it to...
So that being said, I transitioned to live as a man 29 years ago. So that was way before you see any of this stuff. And
Damn.
I had to acknowledge my biology, right? That being said, my license, I travel the world. It has to say male. Can you
Word,
imagine if I
word.
showed up at the airport, they're like, female? Dude, there's something going on here. But I actually got my birth certificate changed to male. I was the first person to do that here in Los Angeles. But that being said, I kind of think that it might have been a mistake to do that now, looking forward today, because I never thought we would be having this conversation.
I'm glad you said that because I love that people can express themselves. We live in America. It doesn't matter what I believe, what my religion is. I love that people can live their best life. I'll never, ever in my life protest or try to go against a person who wants to identify.
Word
The
thousand.
problem is
Word
when you
thousand.
begin to try to change
Word
language, and you begin to try to change reality, and then therefore it changes on the children, and all of that becomes problematic. If a person says, okay, I acknowledge I'm born as a man or a woman, but I will
Word.
identify as this, cool, I
Word.
respect that. And even if I didn't want to see it that way, and some people may be a little more ambiguous, I wouldn't never disrespect you. I'll call you by your name.
That's right.
Whatever name that you want to be associated with, I'll do
Word.
that. And I think if everybody in the country can get on that same page, I think we'll see less division.
What I seen on one of the other shows, like the trans person, they're saying people, if they're trans, they don't have to disclose if they're trans. It's their right to like what? You have to disclose if you're trans if you're trying to deal with somebody. That's weird. Acting like y'all was born a woman, which is crazy to me. If y'all legit would just live in y'all truths I think everything will be fine. I ain't gonna hold y'all. And yeah, that should be the end of this video. Comment if y'all want part 2. Like it if y'all want part 2. Just let me know y'all want part 2, because I got more shit saved, but y'all motherfuckers don't be watching my shit, so alright. But yeah, subscribe too. Peace.